You have already learned, may have forgotten, but in year 10 I think we already discussed this, you were shown how to calculate compound interest on a loan or an investment. Yeah, I know, don't worry if you can't remember anything about it, but compound interest, if you have any recollection, is where the interest is added on and then you get interest on the interest and then interest on the interest on the interest and so on. So you get a better rate. That's what the effective rate of interest is that you did the other day. You get a stated rate of 4.5% compounded. If it's compounded, you will get an effective rate of interest. Now we're moving on from there to calculating how much money you actually get. That was just finding out the rate of interest, effective rate, if you knew the ordinary rate. Now we're going to work out how much money you actually get. Now you did that in year 10 using some complicated formula that said CI equals left bracket 1 plus R over 100 to the power of something, and you have to muck about with that. You don't have to do that anymore. So I'm going to show you how to use something called a finance solver, which is on your graphics calculators. Now if you get your graphics calculator out and you go apps again, and finance and TVM solver, apps, finance, TVM solver. I've got a calculator on here, I'll get it up as well. And there, finance, enter on finance, TVM solver, and press enter. Now I've got a load of numbers in there. You might not have any numbers in there if you haven't used it for this before. And what the display always looks like, which looks a bit funny. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 lines of information. Now before I tell you what those lines of information have to have in them, just to explain, it's quite a very powerful tool, and what you have to do is put in 7 of those 8 bits of information, and it'll tell you what the 8th one is. It'll tell you what's missing. It's like the one variable that's missing. So you fill in all the other variables in a very complicated equation. Now you'll see what I'm getting at when I tell you what each of these symbols mean. If you would like to make notes, it is all in the textbook, by the way, but the textbook has got a lot of stuff in there which is a bit guffy, and I've just pulled out the essential stuff that you need to know. Okay, N is the number of periods of the loan. If I talk about a loan, I'm also talking about an investment. It doesn't really matter. By the way, these variables are connected, as you'll see. We don't know how long this loan is, but we do know that there's going to be 24 repayments, or 24 additions of interest. That's what that says. And how do I get that? Well, down here we got the number of payments per year, and forget about the next one. Payments per year 12 means that the interest is going to be compounded monthly. If I put a 4 in there, it would be quarterly. So payments per year means how you demonstrate how often the interest is paid. So if it's 12 payments per year, then how long is this loan for? It's 12. I've only mentioned for 24, and I mentioned 12 payments per year. So how long? 2 years is what I'm looking for. Now remember, we're only doing compound interest at the moment. If you remember a compound interest problem, all you're doing is getting interest compounded. You're not paying any of the money back. You're just getting interest added on to the cost of the loan or the investment. PMT stands for payment, and payment is 0 because you're not paying anything back. You're borrowing the money, but you're not paying anything back, are you? You're just building up a debt. So payment is always 0. The PMT stands for payment. I might take these numbers out and then start to fill them back in again. That might make more sense to you. See how that's changed to 4 automatically? They're always going to be the same, so don't worry about the CY. If you change PY, it'll change CY for you. You don't need to worry about what that's going on there. Just let it do that. But quarterly, how many years now is the loan? 6 years, isn't it? Because 6 4s are 24. If I make that 16, how many years is the loan now? 4 years. All right. So you see what's going on? If I put 52 down there, so it's weekly, and I put 104, how long's the loan for? 2 years. Okay. So that's how those two things are always related.
Are you looking at a certain question?
No.
Can you look at like question 1A so we can all follow on?
Read it to me.
$20,000 borrowed at 3.5% per annum compounding annually.
All right, compounding annually. Go on. What's the question? That's the information. It's 2 years, so it's compound. Interest is compounded annually, so what's going to go down here? How many payments a year if it's compounded annually? 1. All right, so we put a 1 in there. How many payments if it's 2 years? 2. Okay, what's the rate of interest?
3.5%.
3.5. Is it a loan or a savings?
A loan.
Are lent $20,000 by the bank. You've given it, and it goes in your pocket, and you go and spend it on a car, don't you? So that goes in as a positive sum of money because it's positive coming in. But if you invest the money in the bank, you want $20,000 in a bank, you're giving it to the bank to look after it. That goes in as a minus. That money out of your pocket into the bank goes in as a minus.
Oh, but this one's
If you make,
borrowing it.
if you pay money back, it's money going out of your pocket. If you're making payments, which we're not doing yet, they'll be minus. Is it a loan or an investment? Question
It's
1.
a loan.
It's a loan. So that positive or negative? Okay, if it's a loan, you'll be lent the money going into your pocket, so it's $20,000. And then at the end of it, you've got to pay back $21,400. Now the tool is going to be a lot more powerful than that, as you'll see later on. If you want to calculate how much interest it's cost you, obviously you subtract your 20,000, and that gives you $1,424.50.
25,000 is invested at
What's N?
8.
8. Right, put 8 in for the top thing. What's the rate of interest? 8.9. How much money? 8,000. The payment is 0.
15,000.
Now, how often is it paid?
Quarterly.
So 4. Alpha solve on there. Alpha solve. Your $8,000 has to be paid back as 9,539. This information is straight out of the textbook, so you don't need to copy it down now, it's in the textbook. Basically what I've been telling you.